Good morning, church family. Sue Buckwalter here. Time for our children's lesson. So children, gather up your family if you're at home watching online, or if you're here in the sanctuary, go ahead and dial in and see what the Lord has to speak to you about today. So today I brought in a bent spoon. This is a simple bent spoon for our object talk. Well, before I talk about this, I want to tell you a short story that's from the Bible. In Luke chapter 13, verses 10 through 14, there's a story about Jesus on the Sabbath day teaching in the synagogue. And while he was teaching, there was a woman there who had been crippled by an evil spirit for 18 years. That's a really, really long time, isn't it? 18 years. She was bent over. She couldn't straighten up at all. And when Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said, "Woman, you are set free of your infirmities." He put his hands on her and he healed her right then and there. Immediately she straightened up and she praised God for the miracle that had just happened to her. 18 years she was bent over from this evil spirit that she'd had. And you know what? Most people would think, boy, that's amazing, that's awesome. I wish I could have saw that. But you know what? There was a Sabbath, or the synagogue teachers were there, and they saw this, and they got really mad at Jesus because he healed on the Sabbath day instead of waiting for another day to heal her. The synagogue ruler said to the people, "There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, and not the Sabbath day." So these synagogue teachers and rulers, they were like, that's a naughty thing. You shouldn't have done that, Jesus. Naughty you. And you know what? This is why I brought this spoon in, because it's kind of bent out of shape, isn't it? Just like that lady was. Well, when I look at this spoon and I think, boy, if I tried to eat ice cream with this or scoop ice cream out with this spoon, it probably wouldn't work, and I'd probably bend it out of shape even more. And what happens if I tried to eat soup with this? Like trying to get the soup on there, and then if I tried to bring it up to my mouth, the soup would just spill all down the front of me, wouldn't it? Because this spoon is bent out of shape. And you know what? Sometimes people get bent out of shape too. Sometimes people are bent out of shape because they're old and their bodies are starting to be crippled from all of the hard work they did all those years leading up to their older age. Maybe you know some people that they can't straighten up all the way. They kind of walk bent over, or maybe they have a little bit of a limp or something like that. Or maybe you've seen older people and their hands are kind of bent and they can't straighten their hands. They're kind of stuck like this. That's one way of being bent out of shape. Well, there's sometimes a person gets angry about something, and probably it's something unimportant. And when that happens, we call that getting bent out of shape. It's have you ever heard that phrase, don't get all bent out of shape? Well, you've maybe even had your parents say that to you before, because maybe something little is making you get all worked up and it bending you out of shape. It's changing your attitude. Well, in this story that I shared with you today, there are two kinds of bent out of shape. First, the older lady who was in this story, she'd been bent out of shape for 18 years because of an evil spirit. And when Jesus talked to her, he touched her and he healed her. And what did she do immediately? She praised God. And that was a beautiful thing. Well, then the other person who was bent out of shape was a synagogue ruler. He was bent out of shape because Jesus didn't follow the rules of not healing on the Sabbath day. And you know what Jesus said to that synagogue ruler? He said, "You hypocrite, don't you untie your donkey on the Sabbath and lead him to get a drink? Even so, it was necessary for me to heal this woman who had been suffering for over 18 years." So basically what Jesus was saying to the synagogue rulers is, you do work too sometimes on the Sabbath day. I was just doing my part and trying to help heal this lady. Well, you see, Jesus is always concerned about helping people. He wasn't worried about upsetting a synagogue ruler. He chose to do the right thing when it was the right time to do the right thing. And so think about this, boys and girls. Sometimes there's going to be a right thing that you have to do, and it might be a hard thing to do at the time you're asked to do that. But our Bible tells us in Acts 5:29, Peter and the other apostles replied, "We must obey God rather than man." And that's what Jesus was doing. He was obeying what God had told him to do. He healed that lady on the Sabbath day, even though that was not a good idea in the minds of others, the synagogue rulers. So boys and girls, this week, as you go to school, there might be something that might bend you out of shape. Maybe somebody says something that isn't so good and makes you upset. Or moms and dads, there might be something that happens this week in your life that makes you get bent out of shape like this. So maybe think about this story and try not to get bent out of shape over something small and unimportant. All right, church family, have a great day. Bye.